Hi, Simon Chapple here. I'm the Quit Alcohol Coach, and as always, I want to make sure you smash your sobriety. If you enjoy the videos on my YouTube channel, please make sure you hit the red subscribe button on the screen right now. There's new videos every Tuesday and every Thursday. So if you want help changing the way that alcohol features in your life, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another one. And today I wanted to share 10 things that sobriety is not. And the first thing that I believe sobriety definitely is not is easy at the start. When we first quit drinking, it can be incredibly challenging. And there's lots of other videos on my YouTube channel that will talk you through the process and the best ways of quitting drinking with the minimum amount of pain. But we have to acknowledge that there is going to be some discomfort, certainly at the start. So sobriety is not easy to begin with. It definitely gets easier as we go further and further forward on the journey. But at the start, it's not easy. The next thing that sobriety is not is boring. I thought when I used to drink that people who were sober were the most boring people on the planet. I thought, how can they have a good time if they don't drink alcohol? To me, alcohol was the key to having fun. I couldn't have fun if I didn't drink. But since I've quit, I've learned that actually I have much more fun when I don't drink. My friendships are so much more true. I'm so much more present and connected and enjoy the social life that I now have. Before, my social life was either me sat at home drinking wine or me out somewhere else drinking wine. Either way, I was just doing the same thing, the same addictive behavior over and over, just in different places. And I could rarely remember it. There was nothing else. Everything revolved around alcohol. But now my life is so rich and full of different activities, new friends, new hobbies, and it's wonderful. It's the most colourful that it's ever been. Sobriety is definitely not boring. And sobriety is also not just for alcoholics. I personally don't identify as an alcoholic, and I don't like the term either. But I don't think you need to be a tramp drinking spirits out of a bottle in a brown paper bag to get sober. Many people do it now as a lifestyle choice. They feel empowered. They realize that it's something that suits them and it's something that's going to be healthy, positive, and enable them to be the best version of themselves. You don't have to be a down and out alcoholic to become part of the sober community. Sobriety is also definitely not about following the herd. Society has taught us that drinking is what we do. It's a learned behavior from when we were very young. Even when we get christened as babies, they wet the baby's head with a boozy celebration. And then as we get older, our friends encourage us to drink, our parents drink in front of us, we're subjected to marketing messages about alcohol. It's all around us. It's the one drug that you have to justify not taking. So sobriety is definitely not about following the herd. To me, it's actually the ultimate act of rebellion. You might have heard me use the term sober rebel before, and I believe that to be true. And it feels good to be a rebel, to go against everything that we've been taught, the conditioning that we've gone through, and all the learned behavior. That's a good feeling. I like being a sober rebel. And in fact, I've got a sober rebel t-shirt. I was going to wear it today, but it needs an iron, so I didn't put it on. But sobriety is definitely not about following the herd. We want to go in a different direction and be sober rebels. Getting sober is also not a sign of weakness. To me, people who are able to acknowledge that they've got a problem and make a powerful and positive change to their lives are anything but weak. The easy, weak decision is just to carry on drinking, bury your head in the sand, fail to acknowledge that there's something wrong and that something needs to change. The people who are able to successfully quit drinking, they're the strong ones. Quitting alcohol is definitely not a sign of being weak. It's a sign of being incredibly strong. And being sober is also not something to be ashamed of. I wear my sober badge with pride. I've even got my sober t-shirt on today because I'm so proud of what I've achieved and being part of this incredible community. And when you look at it like that you haven't lost anything, you've gained everything, you've made new friends in this wonderful community, you feel part of something really special, then you've got every reason to shout about it, to be proud, to recognize the incredible achievement and the huge change that you've made to your life. So I'm certainly not ashamed about it. And I know some people do feel a sense of shame and a sense of guilt. I urge you to work through that, to continue learning and to continue growing, and get yourself to a point where you feel really proud and you feel no shame about being sober. And being sober is also not a limitation on what we're able to do. It's actually the opposite. It's like having a superpower. We feel more motivated, more energized, we can think more clearly, and we can deal with challenges far more rationally and calmly than when we were drinking. I used to find myself having childish meltdowns at the slightest little problem when I was drinking. But these days, the things that used to be 8 or 9 out of 10 in terms of being a problem, they're now 2 or 3. They just don't faze me as much. So there's no limitations. And I also find that we're able to take on new projects, to push ourselves further than ever before. And when we become more self-aware, we quit drinking and we recognize other areas of our life that we think need to be improved. And we start working on those as the second phase of our sober journey. And that's really important, because it's not just a case of putting the bottle down, I don't drink anymore, and that's the end of it. It's very much a case of continual growth and continual awareness around what's going on and how you can be the best version of yourself. It is absolutely not a limitation. It's quite the opposite. Sobriety is also not for everyone. Some people just don't suit a sober life. When I started to look at what an alcohol-free life looked like, I realized that it felt like an incredibly good fit for me. It suited my lifestyle and it was something that I really wanted. I became hungry for it. I got excited about getting sober. But for some people, it just doesn't appeal. It doesn't feel like a good fit. And that's fine. That's okay. We're the lucky ones. We're the ones who are the sober rebels who've seen the light and recognize that there's joy and happiness to be found on the other side of drinking. Sobriety is also not the end of your life or the end of your social life. Many people think that if they quit drinking, everything's going to change for the worse. And they're absolutely wrong. And until you try it, until you take an extended break from alcohol, you're never going to know. You're never going to find out. You're just going to live with the limiting beliefs about the so-called benefits of alcohol, which actually there aren't any. Because when you quit, you realize that it was all false. Alcohol was lying to you. You can only discover this when you quit drinking and you find out what it's really like. Your life doesn't end. Your life begins. And the 10th thing that sobriety definitely is not, it's not a destination. I talk about the sober journey all the time, and it is a journey. We go on a journey of growth. We're learning all the time. We're discovering new things about ourselves as we become more self-aware. And people often think that there's a specific destination they need to get to. And once they get to that place, all the work is done. But for me, the further I've gone on this journey, the more I've discovered about myself, the more I've learned, the more I've wanted to put right, the more I've recognized my inner voice, things that need to change, and work that I need to do on myself. And that's not to do with drinking. It's to do with childhood traumas, emotional neglect when I was younger, and even behaviors now that I've carried into my adult life from childhood. They all need working on, and it's all still a work in progress. We develop, we continue moving forward. And I still learn about sobriety. Even these days, I read books, I listen to podcasts, I read blogs all the time. So I don't think about this as traveling towards a destination. I see the whole thing as a journey, and we should enjoy the journey instead of thinking about the destination. Sobriety is not a destination. Sobriety is absolutely a journey, and we should embrace the journey. Enjoy it as you go. Look forward to what you're going to learn, what you're going to find out about yourself next, what your amazing new discovery is going to be.